I think you guys can kind of understand why I'm obviously fascinated with Jesse Jackson in particular. Yeah, the Rainbow Coalition, okay's legacy. I want to get started by giving a shout out to the great Reverend Jesse Jackson, U.S. civil rights leader. Jesse Jackson dies at the age of 84. He was an iconic, heroic figure of American politics. I'm a huge fan. Rest in power to Jesse Jackson. Let's take a look at how mainstream media is covering his legacy.
Jackson, the famed civil rights leader who marched alongside Martin Luther King Jr. and later ran for president, has died. His family has confirmed he was 84. He died peacefully on Tuesday morning, surrounded by his family, they said in a statement. Aleem Makbul looks back at his life.
November 2008. Barack Obama and a moment of history. In the crowd, the tear-stained face of a man who'd done much to pave the way. The Reverend Jesse Jackson.
It's been a long time coming, but tonight, because of what we did on this day, change has come to America.
Born to a teenage single mother in Greenville, South Carolina, Jesse Jackson grew up in a world where black and white were legally segregated. In 1959, he won a football scholarship to university, but threw himself into the civil rights struggle that was engulfing America.
And there's a great swell of cheers to welcome Martin Luther King.
Under the leadership of Martin Luther King. Reverend King sent the young Baptist minister to Chicago to organize protests. On marches, the two men faced violent crowds opposed to the movement. Then, in Memphis, Martin Luther King was murdered in front of Jackson. The assassin was later arrested, having fled the country, but Jackson was never convinced he'd been working alone.
This man could not have stalked Dr. King.
Yeah, one of the craziest parts about this is that I think he was totally correct in his assessment that this was the work of like an organized body of people, which I think we all know who that organization might be. It's the FBI. And basically this was the reason why like everyone disparaged him in like mainstream media. They were like, oh, this is like, but Jesse was a Freemason as though, and his father, he was a Freemason though, but Jesse was a Freemason as though MLK Jr. and his dad, okay, take a perma, I think. Fantastic. I love parapolitics. My biggest fan. I love parapolitics weirdos who will literally take who don't even recognize that they themselves are basically operating at the behest of the State Department because they're so schizophrenic about like anything. Like it's the same that are like, oh, I don't know if you knew this, but Zohran Mamdani's dad, Mahmoud Mamdani, was airlifted into the United States of America by the CIA or something. It's like, brother, like, I need you to understand something, okay? I need you to understand something, especially when someone is like very clearly an op to the federal government. Like, how are you gonna be like, oh, MLK was a part of MLK was a part of like the secret Illuminati society that actually controls everything. Yeah, is that why they him? You think that's the reason why they him, dude? Like who isn't an op in your mind? I love the schizoid, communoid, parapolitics losers who will be like, no, actually, literally everyone. And I mean everyone, and especially those who are actually outsiders to the game of politics, who are leftists, who are socialists, who are Marxists, who sometimes even take up arms against the American government. Those are the ones who are actually the real agents of the state. At some point, you have to recognize that you literally are an agent of the state, whether you recognize it or not, okay? You are behaving like a real op.
Had the logistical operation, had operative alternative passports, and got out of the country with money alone.
A powerful public speaker, Jackson continued the struggle.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare.
Wait, though. I am 10 toes down for you, but Freemasons does not automatically mean Illuminati at all. Yes, but that chatter is bringing it up with the eye emoji to imply Illuminati references, okay? What the do you mean? Oh.
but I am somebody.
In the 80s, he twice ran for president, but failed to win the Democratic Party nomination. But for the first time, a black man was a serious contender.
Our time has come. We must leave racial battleground and come to economic common ground and moral higher ground. Our time has come.
On the international stage, he campaigned for a Palestinian state.
I think you guys can kind of understand why I'm obviously fascinated with Jesse Jackson in particular. Yeah, the Rainbow Coalition, okay, his legacy, a class first politics that still does not shy away from talking about the racial element of American white supremacy, but a class first politics nonetheless. A class first politics that focuses on improving people's material conditions unconditionally. And no, the little F's are going to cut in and out the entire day. Just know that it's going to happen, and there's nothing we can do about it. Okay, just it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. Oh my God, it's so bad. It's so bad. I'm gonna cry. It's so devastating. Yeah, I have don't worry, I got Chuck Schumer right here celebrating his defeat in 1988 at the DNC. Why is it like this?
Creating a long rift with American Jews after some unguarded and offensive remarks. He persuaded Saddam Hussein to release human shields on the eve of the Iraq War. And as South Africa emerged from apartheid, the man who spent years maintaining American pressure against them.
I don't know how bad it is. I can't tell how bad it is because I keep seeing zeros on my end. Not just you, I got it too, lose connection for a few seconds every few minutes. Oh, God. I don't know. People say it's not that bad. It's probably not great, though. It's probably not great at all. And I have no idea. I have no way of telling how bad it is. It's pretty bad. It's been smooth for us, maybe smooth for some, but bad for others. I don't know. Is it next slide? It's perfectly fine for us, dude. Some people are saying it's perfectly fine. Others are saying it's not. I guess, I mean, it's, we'll see. We'll see how in and out, how much this works. I mean, this throttle also does diminish the reach, unfortunately, because like people just keep coming in and seeing that it's cutting in and out, and they're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna watch this shit then. At most is a 3-4 second pause. Great, I love that. I love that. I definitely don't want to myself at all due to the way that this shit is working currently. Smooth from Australia, just out for about 5 seconds, but it's been okay since then. Love that. Love hearing that. Love seeing that. Fantastic. All right. Anyway, let's get back to it. Jesse Jackson.
The system was there to watch.
What time is it?
From the 1960s to the election of Barack Obama, even to the Black Lives Matter movement of recent years, Jesse Jackson was a constant figure in American public life, determined to show generations of young black Americans they too could have a voice.
Well, our US partners CBS News are reporting that Jesse Jackson had been hospitalized for observation back in November. Doctors said he had been diagnosed with a degenerative condition. He had revealed in 2017 that he'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which affects the nervous system, which slowly restricts movement and daily activities. But Jesse Jackson called it a physical challenge. He refused to let it prevent him from continuing his civil rights advocacy. His father, Nois Lewis Robinson Sr., who had Parkinson's, also died of the disease. He was 88. That was back in 1997. But had been suffering from some health conditions since he was hospitalized back in November, revealing a few years ago now that he is diagnosed with Parkinson's. Let's bring you the family statement that we have. They say it is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of civil rights leader and founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the Honourable Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. He died peacefully on Tuesday morning, surrounded by his family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality and human rights helped shape a global movement for freedom and dignity. A tireless change agent, he elevated the voices of the voiceless from his presidential campaigns in the 1980s to mobilising millions to register to vote, leaving an indelible mark on history. Reverend Jackson, the statement goes on to say, is survived by his wife Jacqueline, their children Santita Jesse Jr., Jonathan, Yusuf, Jacqueline, daughter Ashley Jackson and grandchildren. He was preceded in death by his mother Helen Burns Jackson, father Noah Lewis Robinson and stepfather Charles Henry Jackson. And they go on to say, the family statement continues, our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless and the overlooked around the world. We shared him with the world, and in return the world became part of our extended family. His unwavering belief in justice, equality and love uplifted millions, and we ask you to honour his memory by continuing the fight for the values he lived by. So that is a statement from the...
There's a video on his presidential run, the 88 campaign or 84 campaign.
In 1983, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, civil rights leader and former protege of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., announced his candidacy for President of the United States. Jackson galvanized black people around the country to engage in a campaign for an office that most of us had thought a black person could never win. A black man or a black woman occupying the White House? That was the race's impossible dream.
Jesse Jackson wasn't the first African American to run for president. That would be Shirley Chisholm. But Jesse Jackson's run was incredibly exciting. It wasn't just we might get a black president. We might get a black president with a narrative and an agenda that actually represents what democracy could really look like in this country.
By the way, his 84 and 88 campaign, or his 84 and 88 campaign both were far more radical and far more progressive than modern day Democratic campaigns are, okay? Like, I mean, this guy was the fucking real deal, okay? The OG. It's kind of crazy to think about. And he was, of course, like disparaged endlessly. He was attacked endlessly. And the Democrats at the time did not shy away from using whatever ammunition they could.
Young people across the country leapt at the chance to work on Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign, reaching out to voters far beyond the black community.
He brought the white feminists, the white farmers, the first GLBT leaders within the Democratic Party. He said, come and take a seat at this table. I have enough room for everybody.
Surprisingly, Jackson struggled to receive endorsements from many high-profile black...
Surprisingly. No, not surprisingly, actually. As a matter of fact, very unsurprisingly. You know who else was also a prominent... Now we have the rear view mirror, so we have a very different attitude on this. But if you recall, there was another high-profile, young, black Democratic Party presidency contender who also struggled to receive endorsements from high-profile black figures in the party. His name was Barack Obama. Okay? I'm sorry. This is just how the game is played. If you don't understand it by now, make no fucking mistake. He had to literally earn that shit with the Iowa caucus. Okay? He had to earn that shit. They wanted Hillary. It's true, by the way. For those of you who don't know, this is literally what happened. Do not let any motherfucker try to do revisionist history here. Barack Obama went through a similar struggle. Barack Obama went through a similar issue with earning the endorsements of high-profile black figures in the Democratic Party as well.
Politicians.
Most of the black leadership was against him running. They had their own arrangements with the Democratic Party and establishment. They didn't think it could work, but he ran, and he did very well, better than they all thought.
3.5 million people cast their votes for Jesse Jackson. Some estimated that as many as 20% of the African Americans who voted for him had never voted before. Though he fell short of winning the Democratic nomination, Jesse Jackson's 1984 president.
Bro, I swear to God, this right here was another like 2016 Bernie versus Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump moment. Okay. 1984, Jesse Jackson comes in, DNC cooks his ass, okay? Actively destroys his mobilization efforts. And basically, lo and behold, you got the proto-Trump, Ronald fucking Reagan. That's why they say don't blame me. I'm from Minnesota, by the way. Because Minnesota was the only state that fucking voted for Mondale over Reagan. Yeah. Just, you know, lots of comparisons to be made here.
Presidential bid changed the political landscape forever.
Long before there was a Barack Obama, there was a Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he was lifting up little kids all across
I'll be
America.
honest, the real comparison here is not a Barack Obama. The real comparison here is a Bernie Sanders, but obviously I'm too white to be making that comparison. A lot of people are going to be like, hush now, little white baby, but the reality of the matter is a more accurate comparison would be a Bernie Sanders.
Believing that they too one day can become president of the United States. He taught us that our voices matter.
Because the reality of the matter is Barack Obama won, right? Like Barack Obama won. Whereas, and he was able to secure the endorsements by the time he was, the established candidate, right? And we also know how he governed after he won the presidency. He ran on a very progressive platform. He secured the endorsements. He won the primary. And then he kept up with a relatively progressive campaign in the general as well. And then he fucking turned around and governed like a Hillary, right?
It's the power of our vote.
Why are you lying, Hasan? Why am I lying? About what? Do you want me to, do you want to get into an argument while I'm effing in and out? Like while my internet is cutting in and out? Is that what you want to do? You want to get into a fucking long, convoluted, heated argument right at this moment, you think? Anyway, here's another testament to the DNC's like machinery. Here's a clip of Chuck Schumer bragging about blocking the Jackson plank, which was proposed in the 1988 DNC platform item by Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign supporting Palestinian self-determination. You might recognize a person who is speaking in 1988, celebrating blocking the Jackson plank in 1988.
I usually begin my speeches by saying I'm glad to be here. I'm not quite sure that's appropriate tonight, that when I walked up the stairs I was pushed, that when I came here,
Great. I fucking love that, man. I love
now,
this shit.
Now, if you don't want to hear the other side, then don't stay in this room. Go wait for your candidate and listen to him and make yourself feel good. Okay? If you don't want to listen to the other side, please leave. I may not convert you to my point of view, but I will tell you something. If you believe in your argument, you can withstand very easily the argument from the other side. And so if you can't, then I ask you to leave. Let me remind you the last time I was booed publicly, and this was the last time, was something you all abhorred, because I was the leader in the fight against the pro-Palestinian Jackson plank at the Democratic Convention. And I got up on that platform and I said just what I thought. And certain other states got up and booed my speech. So that just as tonight.
It's so crazy that like Chuck Schumer has been Israel first for like his entire political experience. Like this is yet another glaringly obvious example of him just being like anti everything Jesse Jackson represents, including running on a platform for Palestinian self-determination in fucking 1988. Okay. The only time when you see him this energized The only time when you see Chuck Schumer this energized is when he's speaking at like some like American Jewish conference or something like that, where he's just sitting there and talking about how excited he is to make sure that Israel gets unlimited support. Link, please. This is on my Twitter page. I quote retweeted this.
The MC had to get up and say, give the man a chance to be heard. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Perhaps it didn't surprise me that it happened there. It surprises me that it happened here. Folks, hey, Bob, Bob, I deserve a little courtesy, don't you think? Don't you think, Bob? In conclusion,
it's not working.
There's one man there who's clapping his hands and booing. It repeats a routine like this. I usually begin my speech.
The struggle against the left flank that centers working class politics has been ongoing for far longer than these last election cycles. R.I.P. Jesse Jackson. It's once again, once again another, another instance. Senator Schumer says Jesse Jackson was an icon. Chuck Schumer now, of course, tweets, Jesse Jackson was an icon of the civil rights movement and a fearless warrior for justice for all people. He was one of the most powerful forces of positive change in the country. America is far more equal and a just place thanks to his work. My prayers are with his family and all those who were inspired by him. As we honor Reverend Jackson in the coming days, I will be thinking of the many lessons he taught us. Like, no matter what, I have to fucking make sure that there's no Palestinian self-determination. Okay, here we'll do a history of Jesse Jackson's legacy from marching with MLK to building the Rainbow Coalition by Democracy Now! And then we'll move on to the MAGA family annihilator.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. We're continuing our look at the life and legacy of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who died today at the age of 84. A civil rights icon, two-time presidential candidate. We're joined now by two guests. Larry Hamm is a longtime civil rights activist. He's chair of the People's Organization for Progress. He was co-chair of the Jackson for President campaign in New Jersey in 1988. Also a Jackson delegate at the Democratic.
It's just so crazy because, like, there is no reward. You know what I mean? Senator Chuck Schumer follows you. Will you have him on the show? No, he doesn't. The fuck are you talking about? Of course he doesn't follow me. Are you insane? It's like these people like Jesse Jackson were on the right side of history, okay? Unflinching, unyielding, always correct, okay? Always fucking correct. And they got punished endlessly for it. Some people who were also on the right side of history got killed for being on the right side of history, for having conviction, for believing in the cause of justice for all, for believing in egalitarian principles and acting on it, not just sticking to words, but acting on said principles. Our American history is filled with people like this, okay? Our American history is filled with brave civil rights legends like Jesse Jackson, who unfortunately just passed away, but was punished endlessly throughout his advocacy, throughout his activism, throughout his career. It's very, very frustrating to see these monsters that offered setback after setback after setback on numerous occasions, only to turn around and be like, wow, their legacy, we always loved it. We were always a fan, you know? Yes, Mamdani delivered. I know. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about all of that. Okay? I'm going to get into that.
National Convention then, and the former president of the New Jersey chapter of the Rainbow Coalition. And we're joined by Clarence Lusane, political science professor at Howard University, the director of the International Affairs program there. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Professor Clarence Lusane, let's begin with you. You woke up this morning with this news of this historic figure having passed, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Your thoughts on his significance, on his life and legacy?
Good morning, Amy, and good morning, Larry, as well. Yeah, my phone has been blowing up with texts from not just people here in the U.S., but from around the world as the news spread. I want to echo what Bernie Sanders said about Jackson's contribution. Uh, Jackson's life contributed to making this country more democratic, more inclusive, more fair. What Jackson was able to do was to marry movements, grassroots movements, with electoral politics. Prior to the 1980s, a lot of activists who were working on issues from anti-nuclear kinds of concerns to peace issues to civil rights had a kind of sketchy relationship with electoral politics. And Jackson saw that that was a vehicle for being able to bring this country to its principles that it espouses. And so in 84 and in 88, Jackson was doing two things. One was building an electoral movement that would make the Democratic Party and electoral politics more democratic. But at the same time, he was also building a movement outside of that, the National Rainbow Coalition, which picked up the mantle from the Civil Rights Movement and from what Dr. King and others had been doing in the 1960s and brought that into the 1980s and beyond. And his contributions were not just domestic, of course, but also international, not only working with folks who were working around issues like human rights and peace, but just a range of concerns that people had around the world, including, of course, the anti-apartheid movement.
And talk about that, especially for young people who aren't so familiar with the movement to take down apartheid in South Africa. And going back to 1966, the March Against Fear in Mississippi.
You need people like this. You need 1 million. You need tens of millions of Jesse Jacksons. The reality of the matter is the work never ends. The struggle always continues. You need people who say, nah, this is fucked up. You know what I mean? Whether it be the apartheid in South Africa, whether it be the apartheid in Palestine, you need people to continue pushing that advocacy. Okay? That's why I never discourage people from protesting. I never discourage people from changing their minds. I never discourage people when they actually come to that recognition, no matter how late it is. We don't have the time, nor do we have the opportunity, the privilege to say no to people who come on board with these decisions, come on board with these movements. Okay? We need everyone. Especially considering that the powers that be will do everything. We don't have the luxury. Thank you, Chowder. That was the word I was looking for. We don't have the luxury to just fucking push people away, to say, it's not for me. It's fine. You know, we have to work. We have to work within the system to the best of our ability. We have to work with people that we disagree with from time to time. We don't have the luxury. We don't have the resources.
Oh, up through, what was it, 2000 with the fight around Gore and Bush.
Yep, the 1966 March Against Fear happened in Mississippi. This was 3 years after King had given his speech at the March on Washington, I Have a Dream speech, and Medgar Evers had been killed. And James Meredith, who was a local activist in Mississippi, started a march. He was shot during that march, but that then galvanized the entire civil rights movement to come to Mississippi. So Jackson was there, King was there, Stokely Carmichael was there. That's where Stokely Carmichael made his famous statement about Black Power. And that's important because what we see with Jackson is that he brought together the disparate parts of not only the Black political movement, people who were nationalists, people who consider themselves socialists, people who consider themselves liberals, even Black conservatives. Jackson would galvanize and rally when he ran in 88 and 84. But Jackson also brought together people outside of the civil rights community and outside of the Black community. And so that was really kind of a turning point. So then we get to 1983, and there's a big celebration of the 20th anniversary of the March on Washington. but it's also a protest against Reagan. Reagan had been elected in 1980 and launched the harshest anti-civil rights presidency to that date. And so Jackson and civil rights leaders and trade unions and others called for this march. And at that march, there had been a grassroots movement growing, and it swelled, Run, Jesse, Run. So this wasn't Jackson just saying, I want to be president. This was a recognition of Jackson's work, his moral and political clarity in that moment. And he launched not only his presidential campaign, which many of us worked on, and Larry was critical in that, Ron Daniels, Jack O'Dell, others, but he also launched the National Rainbow Coalition. And they worked in parallel. And as Bernie said and others have noted, the reason Barack Obama becomes president in 2008 is because of the work that Jackson and others like Fannie Lou Hamer, who made sure that the Democratic Party would democratize and change the rules of the game so that when Obama ran in 2008, he was running under very different circumstances than even when Jackson ran in 1984 and 1988. And Jackson...
I guess this is one way to get some Black History Month on the stream. I mean, come on. Yeah. Here, let's hear a speech from Jesse Jackson talking about the neoliberal Democratic Party's refusal to even attempt to appeal to the working classes, let alone organize them. Okay, this is around the Reagan era.
We're gonna stop the rocks. It's been laying around and pick them up. That's right. In 1980, Reagan won Massachusetts by 2,500 votes. There were over 100,000 students unregistered, over 50,000 blacks, over 50,000 Hispanics. He won by 2,500. Ted Kennedy State. Rocks just laying around. He won Illinois by 300,000 votes, 800,000 unregistered blacks, 500,000 Hispanics. Rocks just laying around. He won.
Jesse Jackson got rat fucked with the Clintons in the Dem primaries who bombarded him with openly racist campaign ads and messaging. There are a lot of reasons to despise the Clintons, but that's one of the biggest ones. The Clintons used racism to sink an ascendant socialist figure who would have won in a landslide if the Clintons had essentially rigged the primaries and got out the racist white folks to sink him. Jesse Jackson and his politics will be very familiar to you if you're like a post-2016 Bernie bro, okay? If you're a post-2016 Bernie bro, the attacks against them also were obviously far more consequential than even Bernie Sanders at the time because, like, material conditions had gotten far worse by 2016, so people were way more invested in an anti-establishment figure as opposed to back then. And not only that, but also the shine of like New Deal Democrats was still very much firmly captured in the hands of the establishment Democrats in general. So that is part of the reason why it was like it seemed virtually impossible back then. But the slant that he ran on and his advocacy was damn near identical to the advocacy that you see nowadays with the Bernie-crats, with that same exact movement, what I like to call left flank candidates. Okay? The left flank candidates and their advocacy was very similar. It was a working class first. It was class first politics. It was a uniting message on the boundaries of class rather than other culture. And yeah, it's not even.
In 1980, 3 million high school students unregistered to vote.
Even down to the non-voters, like even down to going after non-voters, trying to organize non-voters and activate them into voting. Okay?
Now they've been registered to draft. Rocks just laying around. 11 million college students
I gotta pee.
who could have chosen jobs over jails, peace over wall that didn't vote. Now they're crying. Rocks. Just laying around. Reagan won 8 southern states by 182,000 votes. But there were 3 million unregistered blacks in them same 8 states. Rocks. Just laying around. He won New York by 165,000 votes. 600,000 students unregistered. 900,000 blacks. 600,000 Hispanics. Rocks. Just laying around. 1980, Reagan won Pennsylvania by 300,000 votes. 400,000 students unregistered. More than 600,000 blacks unregistered. Reagan won Pennsylvania by the margin of despair, by the margin of the fracture of our coalition. Your time has come. Pick up your slingshot, pick up your rock, declare our time has come. A new day has begun. Red, yellow, black, and white, we're all precious in God's sight. Our time has come.
How depressing is that this same exact speech is the most relevant today still? Chatter. This is the exact same reason why you look back at my commentary from 10 years past. You look back at the stuff that I was writing about. You look back at the stuff that I was saying in 2016 and onward. And the reality of the matter is the issues are the same and my advocacy is the same. This is just how it is. This is how it always is. This is how it's always been, especially in a place like the United States of America. If you are a socialist, if you're a Marxist, if you are a progressive, if you are to the left of the Democratic Party and you see these problems, you recognize them, you want to solve them, you communicate how we could solve them, slowly but surely you start realizing that the hurdles are the same, the problems are the same, the setbacks are the same, but nevertheless, we still continue to organize. But that is the reality. You got to take advantage of the opportunities given to you, the opportunities to organize, and you have to be persistent. You have to be stubborn, and you just have to keep pushing. Yeah, the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles is true. I fucking butchered saying hitherto. I don't ever know. I never learned how to say that word. Hitherto. Hitherto. Civil rights movement was built upon very similar work done in the 30s and 50s. Yeah, the struggle continues. So that's why I always say, look, man, I'm a socialist. Whenever people say, oh, Hasan, this is a setback far too large. What do we do here? What do I always tell you? Oh, man, we took a big L here. What do I always say? I'm a socialist. My entire life has been one L after the other. And yet we still continue. Because as long as these issues continue, you can't fucking cave. You can't buckle. You can't give in to some of the worst, most powerful forces in society telling you you have to stop. You have to keep going. You have to keep pushing, especially when you know your cause is just. You do it for those who were lost in the battle, and you do it for those who remain. Anyway, it is what it is. It is something you have to internalize, though. You have to have a backbone. You have to understand, like, especially in terms of the advocacy surrounding Palestinians and Palestinian self-determination. Right? Here's Jesse Jackson, civil rights leader, accused of anti-Semitism for advocating for Palestinians in the fucking 80s, mind you.
You offended the Jews, and about you were sick and tired of hearing about the Holocaust. To say that when we're not sick and tired of hearing about black lynchings in the South and so on, we're still sympathetic. And what incredibly bad timing.
After visiting the Holocaust site, the tour guide asked me how did I feel about it. I said, one has to have a sense of tragedy, and I think it's real tragic. I said, and the phrase that many Jewish people use, never again, really should apply to everybody, because all of us should say never again to fascism, because this is the logical conclusion of fascism. So you say, well, you make it sound as if it's just a humanitarian crisis when it's in fact unique. I said, well, as a social scientist, I choose to use the word tragic. He said, but unique. I said tragic. I said, I read Trail of Tears. I know how the Indians were exterminated. 60 million blacks were lost between Africa and America. Other similar situations. And so he became offended because I chose to use the word tragic rather than unique.
Yeah, he was right. And he wasn't too early. He was right, but he wasn't too early even back then. It's just that society was not ready for it. But even back then, there were plenty of thinkers who recognized right from wrong, who understood the similarities, who understood that the very same ideological forces that committed the atrocities during the Holocaust were the exact same ideological forces at a different time doing the indigenous extermination, doing 400 years of colonial extraction, slavery, mass rapes, the death and destruction of black people from Africa. It was the exact same ideological motivation. It was fascism before fascism was able to materialize as a solid political movement, right? Before it was fascism, it was colonialism. Before it was colonialism, I guess it was I don't know what you would call it at that point. But the reality of the matter is that it was the same old tragedy in many respects. The exceptional nature or the consistent demands of singling out the Holocaust, especially nowadays, is weaponized against the plight of Palestinians. Anytime you make any sort of comparison between what took place with the Nazis, what they did to 6 million Jews and millions of other people as well, Slavs, people who had disabilities, gay people, trans people. When you compare that to the genocide that Israel is committing against Palestinians, people say, no, you can't do that. Never again just means never again for us. Never again just for Jews. That's not what never again is supposed to be about, okay?
Which reflects a certain hypersensitivity that we must have a new formula in the Middle East that represents more balance in our policy. We must be concerned about Palestinian justice, Lebanon's territorial integrity protected, and normalized ties with the Arab world. That must not be considered offensive.
When quotes like that come out about the Holocaust and so on, who would be out to discredit you so by getting that kind of misquote?
Well,
if it is, as you say, a misquote.
Many Jewish people were, by virtue of the fact that we accepted Arafat's invitation to go to Lebanon. And therefore, there were many who simply attempted to sabotage the trip by trying to discredit us and therefore make our meeting with him an irrelevant trip as opposed to a relevant trip. One of the guys who helped to deal with our ticket arrangements, getting a travel agent, he became so irate over the fact that we were going to meet this anathema, this guy called Arafat. And he just simply went in a rage and lost all sense of emotional balance. He did a press conference.
I mean, this is a man who worked for you?
No, he did not work for us. See, that was a lie he told. He did not work for us.
When you had your picture taken hugging Arafat, that, of course, offended a lot of people. Strange bedfellows to be.
Yeah. I mean, this is it. How dare you? How dare you communicate with the other side? The other side that we obviously choose to undermine. The other side that we never want to offer a voice to. Because if you never actually recognize the other side's humanity, then it's much easier to disparage them. It's much easier to dehumanize them. It's much easier to justify all of the atrocities that befall the Palestinian people, right? So we here in the heart of empire play a very significant role, a role that I try to play to the best of my ability, right? We have the opportunity to show the other side. We have the opportunity to give a voice to the voiceless. We have an opportunity to listen to their demands. We have an opportunity to humanize them to our friends, to our family members, using the platforms that we have at our disposal. They will always try and stop it. And this is not just the Palestinians versus the Israeli society and its military conquest. This is the same for every group, okay? It's the same for the Venezuelans. It's the same for the Cubans. It's the same for all of the dispossessed masses that American imperialism and Western imperialism chooses to dominate. Okay? That's why there is always so much resistance. And that resistance should be expected. That resistance should always be expected. It's one that I expected when I had 35 people watching me. It's one that I expected when I had 350 people watching me. And it's one that I certainly receive every single day with 35,000 people watching me. Right? That's part of the reason why I've always maintained a position where I want to make sure that I have the most reliable base of support through a subscription mechanism rather than one that relies on ads, rather than one that relies on contracts, rather than one that relies on corporations. I'm not like tying this back to, you know, subscribing to the Piker Broadcasting Service. I'm just simply telling you that's precisely the reason why I do things the way I do, right? The reality of the matter is these are setbacks that you have to be ready for. These are setbacks that you have to expect. No matter what happens, there will always be naysayers out there, people who seek to disparage you, people who seek to undermine your message, and you just have to keep pushing through. You have to keep pushing through regardless, as long as you know your cause is just. This is something that you have to remember. People will say a whole bunch of nonsense. You speak out against Israel, to call you an anti-Semite, as they did with Jesse Jackson. You speak out against American imperialism in Venezuela, to say, oh, well, you want to destroy the Venezuelan population. You don't care if they die. When in fact, it's actually the American government's design that is killing Venezuelans, right? That denies them sovereignty. Same with people in Cuba. It doesn't matter what people say. You can't listen to naysayers who are either deluded into thinking that you are a bad person, or people who are cynically weaponizing these other forces at play: racism, white supremacy, Nazism, fascism, misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, people who are very well aware of the social conditioning that exists and will choose to weaponize it against you. Right? Just got to keep pushing through it.
Hugging a member of the PLO, an organization not unassociated with terrorism.
It's a matter of respect. In that part of the world, one of the common cultural ways of greeting people is with an embrace and a hug on both sides.
Yeah, this is the same shit where people say, Hasan, oh, you're pro-Hamas, you're an anti-Semitite. Just like John Fetterman was saying the other day, Hasan, you're an anti-Semitite. Hasan, you're an anti-Semitite. You're like, the Palestinian people have a legal right to resistance, okay? That's just what it is. Take it up with the fucking international community if you have a problem with that. Take it up with international humanitarian rights, okay? Palestinians have a legal right to defend themselves, their lives, their dignity, their sovereignty against a settler colonial state that is seeking to wipe them out. Look, they said the same shit about PLO.
In 1984 that he got hammered for, and his relationship with the Jewish American voters. He denied this at first.
He eventually acknowledged that he made those comments. It was said in private, and he thought he was off the record with some reporters, and it ended up being in a newspaper. And he apologized for it. This has always been the third rail in American politics, and it was even more so then than it is now. Back then, it was not okay to even talk about Palestinians. The U.S. government policy was not to even speak to the Palestinian leaders at the time who were considered terrorists. And when Jesse Jackson said that we should be seeking a two-state solution, in the 80s, that was not a thing. The other thing is that he brought Arab Americans into the political process in a way that they had not been brought into the process before. And that's a legacy that I think still sticks with that community.
For more, go to podcastplayground.com.
There is some new trouble to tell you about tonight between Reverend Jesse Jackson and Barack Obama. And Fox's John Gibson is here with more on that. Hi, John.
Thanks, Martha. Barack Obama is about change, the Reverend Jesse Jackson says. Starting with the Middle East, we're quoting Jackson now, decades of putting Israel's interests first will end In an interview in France with Amir Tahiri of the New York Post, Jackson said Zionists have controlled American policy for decades and will lose their clout when Barack Obama enters the White House. Today, the Obama campaign reacted quickly by saying Jesse Jackson is not an Obama advisor, and Jackson is, quote, therefore in no position to interpret or share Barack Obama's views on Israel and foreign policy. Jackson's untimely quotes could have an effect on Florida and some parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania, where the Jewish vote is important. Obama's team further said no false charges can change Barack Obama's unshakable commitment to Israel's security, and as president, Obama will ensure that Israel can defend itself from every threat it faces. While keeping
couple things to pay attention to here. Some things never change, and some things change dramatically. Establishment liberals, of course, will rat fuck the people that brought them along, the people that helped play a role in getting them to the position of power. That's number one. Barack Obama behaving like an establishment Democrat here. But something that has changed dramatically is the Fox News coverage. Can you imagine Fox News offering fair and balanced coverage as opposed to now in a situation like this? I'm just saying, this is considered fair and balanced reporting, especially in comparison to even the fucking New York Times coverage now. You know? I feel like Fox News back then, which was foul for the record, foul to Barack Obama, foul to anyone that was ostensibly to center left, like liberal, more liberal than Ronald Reagan. They were foul, right? But even then, this looks like more fair coverage than what CNN's Jake Tapper would offer to Barack Obama nowadays. Think about that. Think about how some things do not change at all, and think about how much certain things have changed. A relic.
Obama's denials in mind, I'd like to remind you of my comments last week on Obama's close relationship with Rashid Khalidi. Khalidi and his wife were personal friends of the Obamas in Chicago, as well as somebody who donated money to Obama and someone to whom Obama steered grant money in his position at the Woods Fund. According to the LA Times, Khalidi once acted as a spokesman for the PLO and a negotiator for Palestinians in peace talks, and Obama once said Khalidi opened his eyes to a different point of view. Obama's history with one-time PLO spokesman Rashid Khalidi makes me wonder if Jesse Jackson's error was simply that he spoke out at the wrong time, just 20 days before the election. Write to me at Gibson Radio at foxnews.com. Check out the radio show XM1 at 168, Sirius 145, and
someone said.
Yeah, Jesse Jackson, 2003. Don't attack Iraq. Yep. All you get for history is just an endless amount of fucking scrutiny your whole damn life, your whole damn career in advocacy. That's all you fucking receive, dude. Straight up. Straight up. You can be on the right side of every issue your whole damn life. And when you finally pass, they'll turn around and say, the very same people that actually caused you so much ire your whole life, that rat fucked you, that basically did everything in their fucking physical power to stop your movement, to stop your advocacy, will then turn around and say, in the most like whitewash, reputation laundered way possible too, they'll turn around and say, oh, he was great, he was a brave hero, and we fucked his movement up every single step of the fucking way. Chuck Schumer is not unique in this regard. I know we covered Chuck Schumer's statements now versus what he had said in 1988, taking credit for destroying the Jesse Jackson plank on Palestinian self-determination. But that's just how it is. That's how it always will be.
How can you do these things, Reverend? You're always out marching and you're demonstrating and you're willing to go to jail and you're going from nation to nation, and how do you reconcile that with your religion? Well, my religion obligates me to do that.
Okay, like legit feedback from a 41-month subscriber. For what it's worth, the soundboard makes your stream less watchable. My wife literally made me turn off one of your YouTube videos I was listening via premium on the drive home because she was so annoyed with the soundboard. No ideological problems here. It's just really annoying and repetitive sounding. I don't mean this as any hate, just feedback. Bruh. That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, well, to you, chatter, I say...
And pussy too.
Yeah, that's right. That's a bad take, and we're going to keep using the fucking soundboard, okay? I also have this to say for you and your wife. Okay? That's all I got. I'm going to keep using the fucking soundboard. I don't even care. I am going to keep using the soundboard every now and then, especially because...
We are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame. We'll fight for the gospel. We'll honor his name.
Yeah, so... Just, you know, keep up. Nice, sweet wife flex, by the way. You know, respect to you. Respect to you, chatter. Blammo. I mean, that's all I got. Do you realize your fame and influence can vanish in a day? Be nice to your bosses / where your money comes from. My fucking bosses are you, okay? You are my bosses. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people, okay? So that's the only group of people that I'm held accountable to. But having said that, if they're going to fucking turn around and, you know, get upset about my usage of the soundboard, then for them, I don't really have anything else to say. Even Reddit likes it. Unless you sort by controversial. Hasan, wow, I'm losing viewers going to dual string. Also, Hasan, it seems like people like it. Or is it the uncleization and he's becoming jank? Remember when some of his chatters politely told you the bull hair wasn't cutting it? I mean, I'm not going to like use it aggressively unless you guys, unless you tell me that you're annoyed by it, at which point I will actually keep hitting it. You know, I'm not going to overdo it unless you fucking tell me to not use it, at which point I will overdo it. Let's continue.
Religion obligates me to go to South Africa and witness. My religion obligates me to go to the Middle East and try to offer a peace plan and reconcile Arab and Jew. My religion obligates me to serve. And so I think that those of us who take our religion seriously, who would follow the mold of Christ, must teach and preach and do it in and out of season. The one fact is that we live our lives as if life is certain and death is uncertain. Death is certain, life is uncertain. And therefore, to that extent, we could make a choice. And so I fight in this struggle now, not because I'm afraid I might die, because if I die, I do not have to face the problems. I fight this fight because I'm afraid I might live. And if I must live, the world is moving in a different direction than the direction it's moving in now.
Why did you choose to be a Baptist minister rather than a politician?
Well, I was chosen. I did not really make that as a conscious choice. I did not decide that blacks would not have access to public accommodations, but because we did not have them, and when I became conscious of the implications of apartheid, then I made the decision to fight to overcome apartheid within American society. I did not choose for blacks not to have the right to vote, but once I became conscious of the implications of that, I chose to fight for the right to vote. I did not choose for blacks not to have open housing, but once I became aware of the implications, I chose to fight. I did not choose the Vietnam War, and therefore choose to begin to become involved in international politics. But once I became aware of how much money was being wasted in the Vietnam War, how many lives are being lost, how many people were being killed, how the innocent were being sacrificed for the greed of a few, then I chose to become involved.
Spamming the soundboard doesn't just ruin the stream. Okay, take a week off. Again and again, I'm going to keep explaining to you that I don't give a fuck about your opinion on this. Okay? Keep ignoring me. Please actually listen to people, and if you use it sparingly, but genuinely, a lot of us take a day off. Okay, let's continue. Take a day off, chatter. Okay?
In that process. And so to that extent, many of my battlegrounds have been chosen for me, but since my conscious state, I have determined that the rest of my life will be spent trying to right these wrongs and trying to inspire people to believe that they can do something about it.
I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be on welfare.
It's so funny because the reason why I think this conversation, before I get back to Jesse Jackson, the reason why I think this conversation is so funny is because all the adults basically want me to just pay attention to them and their current concern rather than do the actual fucking work, rather than do the actual coverage, rather than discuss back and forth like, you know, Jesse Jackson's importance in American politics. They are the ones who are childishly turning around and being like, well, you used the fucking soundboard like 25 minutes ago, and I've still been stuck on that. It's very one note for me. I'm hyper fixated, and it's been very frustrating for me. So I just want you to literally only discuss this now rather than whatever the fuck you want to discuss. Ironically enough, you are the one who's childish. Okay? You are the one who's being childish. And I know me listening to what you have to say or even blocking you is only going to make it worse. Okay? But I just need you to understand, like, your entitled attitude is not going to fly. Yeah.
But I am somebody.
No way he drops the know you argument.
Jail, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am somebody. Right on.
The world mourning the loss of a civil rights giant.
Our flag is red, white, and blue.
By the way, notice how like some of the coverage around his legacy is noticeably omitting key parts of his advocacy. If you notice, like in mainstream media, they'll either briefly mention the pro-Palestinian advocacy or they don't mention it at all.
Our nation is rainbow. Red, yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight.
Reverend Jesse Jackson was one of the most prominent politicians in the 80s and 90s, blazing the trail for generations to follow. All of his life, the Reverend Jesse Jackson preaching, exhorting, demanding justice in a quest to help his people and nation overcome.
We ain't the bottom. We the foundation.
He's marching, civil rights nonviolent soldier. There he was, shoulder to shoulder with Martin Luther King Jr. after witnessing the beatings of Bloody Sunday on television. Jackson eventually became one of the top lieutenants in the critical Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which challenged the Jim Crow South's withering oppression. A witness to history, he was there on that fateful April evening when King was struck down by an assassin's bullet.
I tried to feel his head, and I asked him, I said, Dr. King, do you hear me? Dr. King, do you hear me? And he didn't say anything.
After a leadership struggle with King's successor, Reverend Ralph Abernathy, Jackson split from the SCLC and formed a new organization, People United to Save Humanity, PUSH.
Black, beautiful.
After Dr. King, I don't think anyone captured the spirit of America like Reverend Jackson, and he took the movement north. I think Jesse Jackson was the link from that generation.
Man, I used to think Jesse Jackson was so extreme when I was a child with how my parents and media talked about him. It's embarrassing for me now to have felt that way knowing what I know now. I mean, it's all good. You now are armed with the knowledge. It's good for you to move on from that, right? You've become a new person. Your third eye has opened, right? Whatever you want to call it. If you're a spiritual person, that's like, one way to look at it. What matters is not who you used to be. What matters is who you are now. And that transformational experience can actually make you a better advocate. That transformational experience can make you a better organizer because you are now equipped with the knowledge of the social conditioning that other people have, just like yourself. Now you know what steps it takes to make this transformational change. And you can use that in your advocacy. You can use that when you're talking to other people.
Of King and them all the way to my generation and then the generation behind me.
The first wave of the civil rights movement had succeeded in breaking down significant barriers, but Jackson's primary focus was on economic empowerment.
We know that we are worthy of respect and protection, but nobody really knows our name, and so we're really still struggling.
He broke boundaries in politics, twice running for president, first in 1984 under the banner of a rainbow coalition. In 1988, he was, for a time, the Democratic Party's frontrunner for the presidential nomination, before eventually losing the nomination to Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis.
I'd rather go down in the stirring fight than drowse to death at the sheltered shore.
Jackson also took on the role of freelance international negotiator, meeting with some of the world's most brutal tyrants.
Overseas, the American
world's most, wait, hold on, let's run that back. What, I'm sorry, what? What?
On the role of freelance international negotiator, meeting with some of the world's most brutal tyrants.
Overseas, the American black activist Jesse Jackson has become an intermediary in the Middle East.
In 1984, he met with Syria's Hafez al-Assad.
Goodman and the Reverend Jackson arrived at Andrews Air Force Base,
securing the release of downed American naval officer Lieutenant Robert Goodman. In 1990, he held talks with Saddam Hussein to free foreign nationals being held in Iraq as human shields. And in 1999, he went behind enemy lines again to meet with Slobodan Milosevic to negotiate the return of 3 American prisoners of war.
True.
At times, he was a spiritual advisor, counseling President Clinton in his darkest hour, facing impeachment over a sex scandal. But Jackson had his own moments where he fell far short of what he had championed. In the mid-1980s, facing controversy for allegedly making a highly offensive remark about the Jewish community.
God is not finished with me yet.
Oh, just let it hang. Let it hang. What was it?
And as an ordained minister, having to admit in 2001, he had fathered a child after an affair with a former staffer. Although somewhat diminished, Jackson leaned in on his faith of forgiveness and redemption and kept fighting, keeping his eyes on the prize. He saw one of his hopes realized on election night.
What was it? Let's see the clip. We already covered it. It was when he was talking about the Holocaust being a tragic incident, a tragedy, to basically confirm the point that like this was a tragedy not dissimilar to the indigenous genocide, a tragedy not dissimilar to chattel slavery, that it was the not unique nature of the Holocaust in terms of like thousands of years of human cruelty that was so frustrating. That was the controversy. And it was, of course, the reason. I can't believe that they fucking didn't even mention his advocacy work for Palestinian self-determination and only slapped on the whole like, well, he had some anti-Semitism allegations. Obviously, that kind of stuff carried a lot more water for a very long time. That kind of sentiment carried a lot more water back then. Nowadays, when someone actually says that, and you look into their background and you realize that they were like literally spending years and years. I think they're talking about when he says slurs, not the Holocaust part. He did apologize and make amends. I thought they were talking about, they said the statement about the Holocaust not being they said that he was undermining the Holocaust, like the impact of the Holocaust. Is that not? Or, he used outdated racial slurs? Well, regardless.
In 2008, in Chicago's Grant Park.
America, I have never been more hopeful than I am tonight that we will get there.
He wept as President-elect Barack Obama delivered his victory speech. In recent years, the effects of age and a long illness had slowed his gait, but not his spirit. Jackson goes.
We got another weirdo in the chat. Not unique genocide. What? Hasan, I fucking wasn't. What the F? Actual fuck? You think I've been stalking you for years? Okay, chatter. I'm going to give you a day off for your own sake. Hopefully, you will get back to your medication. Okay? I'm going to remind you, med check right now for all the chatters who might have forgotten to take their medication today, including you, chatter. Okay, I have no idea who you are. I do not think you are stalking me. I don't know where you came from, but I'm gonna give you a day off for your own safety. A good reminder for everybody to take your medication.
Going public with his private health battle, dealing with a myriad of health issues. He was hospitalized in Chicago in mid-November and released a few weeks later. Through it all, Jackson's faith and hope in what America could be endured. Jackson's family saying he passed away peacefully in his sleep. He was 84 years old.
America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. I love you very much.
So the life of a person who at times seemed larger than life comes to a close. There were many facets to Reverend Jackson. Perhaps the thing that defined him most was a deep understanding and a connection to the struggle that African Americans have faced in a march toward a more perfect union. On a personal and professional note, I saw that when we were colleagues at CNN. He made clear he was rooting for me as a black man to succeed. There he was introducing me to former Vice President Al Gore. He loved his people. Guys?
Yeah, sure did.
And he certainly did. Absolutely tireless.
Yeah.
He never, ever stopped working for the causes that he believed in.
And we're certainly thinking of his family this morning. Pierre, our thanks to you.